Welcome back, travelers. Tonight's file begins with a simple question. A question most people never think to ask. When you get into your car late at night, how certain are you that you are alone? Most drivers would answer immediately, very certain, completely certain. After all, you would notice if someone was sitting in the back seat, wouldn't you? Tonight's file suggests otherwise. The reports are difficult to verify. The witness statements often contradict one another, and the security footage raises more questions than answers. But every version of the story shares one detail. At exactly 3 o'clock in the morning, a rideshare driver accepted a pickup request, and according to every available record, the passenger was already inside the vehicle. Tonight's file begins in Arizona, November 2018, 3 a.m. The highway stretched endlessly through the desert. Miles of empty road disappeared into darkness. No traffic, no gas stations, no houses. Only sand, rock, and silence. Ethan Cole drove slowly beneath the stars. 32 years old, part-time rideshare driver, former mechanic, and currently wishing he had gone home hours ago. The app on his phone remained open, waiting for one final ride. Just one. Then he could finally sleep. Business had been terrible all night. Only 3 passengers, almost no tips, and now the highway looked completely deserted. Ethan yawned. The dashboard clock changed. 3 a.m. At that exact moment, his phone chimed. New ride request. Ethan sighed with relief. Finally. The pickup location appeared. His smile immediately faded, because the request came from somewhere impossible, a place called Black Mesa Road. The strange thing was, Ethan had lived in Arizona his entire life, and he had never heard of Black Mesa Road. Black Mesa Road. The name meant nothing to Ethan, yet the rideshare app displayed it clearly. Pickup location, Black Mesa Road. Passenger, unknown. Rating, unavailable. Ethan frowned. In 3 years of driving, he had never seen a passenger profile without a rating. No photo, no history, nothing. Just unknown. The pickup point sat 12 miles away, deep in the desert, far from any town, far from any highway exit, far from anywhere a passenger should be standing at 3 in the morning. For several seconds, Ethan considered declining the ride. Something about it felt wrong. Then he looked at tonight's earnings. Terrible. One more ride couldn't hurt. Hopefully. He accepted the request. The navigation immediately activated. A blue route appeared on the screen. And for the first time that night, the GPS led him somewhere he had never seen before. The desert grew darker as he drove. The highway eventually became a smaller road, then a smaller one, then something barely deserving the word road at all. Cracked pavement stretched through empty wilderness. No lights, no buildings, no signs, nothing. The stars overhead looked unusually bright. The moon hid behind thin clouds, and the silence felt heavy, almost unnatural. The dashboard clock read 3:12 a.m. The pickup point was less than a mile away. Then the radio turned on, by itself. Static filled the car. Ethan frowned. He reached toward the controls. Before his fingers touched the button, a calm voice emerged from the speakers. "Good morning, travelers." Ethan froze. The voice sounded old, soft, pass, almost comforting. Tonight's roads are unusually quiet. A chill crawled across his neck. The signal sounded impossibly clear. No interference, no background noise, only the voice. And tonight's passenger is running late. Ethan's hands tightened around the steering wheel. Running late? How could a radio host know about his ride? The voice continued. "Please keep driving." Then the signal vanished. Music returned as though nothing had happened. Ethan told himself it was coincidence. A weird coincidence, nothing more. Still, he turned the volume down, just in case. 3 minutes later, he arrived. Or at least, he thought he had. The GPS announced, "You have arrived at your destination." Ethan slowed the car. Confusion replaced anxiety. There was nothing there. No passenger, no building, no road sign, nothing. Only desert. Endless, empty desert. The headlights illuminated sand and rock, nothing else. Ethan checked the app. The ride was still active. Passenger waiting. Pickup confirmed. But where? He looked around carefully. Nobody stood nearby. Nobody walked beside the road. Nobody waited in the darkness. The entire area appeared deserted. Then his phone vibrated. A message from the passenger. 3 words. "Look behind you." A cold sensation rushed through Ethan's body. Slowly, very slowly, he looked into the rearview mirror and nearly slammed on the brakes. Someone sat in the back seat. A man, perfectly still, watching him. Ethan's heart stopped. The passenger hadn't been there a second earlier. He was certain, absolutely certain. Yet now, a man occupied the rear seat, wearing a dark jacket, hands folded neatly in his lap, silent, motionless. The rear door had never opened. Ethan would have heard it, seen it, yet somehow the man was there, waiting, watching. The passenger smiled. "Thank you for stopping." For several seconds, Ethan couldn't speak. The man's voice sounded normal enough, calm, polite, almost friendly, which somehow made everything worse. Ethan finally swallowed. "How did you get in my car?" The passenger tilted his head slightly, as though surprised by the question. "You picked me up." "No." Ethan shook his head. "No, I didn't." The man simply smiled again. The smile never reached his eyes. Outside, the desert remained silent. The dashboard clock changed. 3:13 a.m. The passenger looked toward it, then back at Ethan. "That's not the right time." A chill moved through Ethan. "What?" The passenger pointed toward the dashboard. "It should say 3. "It does say 3. The man's smile widened. "No," he whispered. "It should only say 3. Before Ethan could ask what that meant, his rideshare app updated. Destination received. A new address appeared. And the moment Ethan read it, his blood ran cold. Destination: Pine Motel. Estimated arrival: unknown. Ethan stared. The name felt strangely familiar, like a memory he couldn't quite reach, like something he had heard long ago. The passenger leaned forward slightly. "You've heard of it?" It wasn't a question. It was a statement. Ethan shook his head. "No." But even as he said it, he wasn't sure. Somewhere deep inside, he knew that name. Pine Motel. The passenger settled back into his seat. "The road knows where it is." The sentence made no sense, yet somehow the man sounded completely serious. Ethan should have ended the ride. He should have demanded the passenger leave. He should have driven away immediately. Instead, he started the engine, because curiosity had begun replacing fear. The same curiosity that had led countless travelers into trouble before. The same curiosity that had once guided Daniel Mercer onto County Road 17. The same curiosity that had led Emma Carter into Pine Motel. The same curiosity radio station 13 seemed to understand perfectly. The navigation updated again. A new route appeared, and Ethan immediately noticed something strange. The route didn't follow any known road. Instead, it cut directly across empty desert, as though another road existed there, a hidden road, invisible to everyone else. The passenger smiled. Now we're getting somewhere. The headlights illuminated a narrow path, one Ethan could swear hadn't existed moments earlier. A lonely road appearing from darkness, pushing endlessly ahead. Ethan hesitated. Every instinct screamed at him to turn around, but something else pulled at him, something impossible to explain. The road felt familiar, like a dream remembered from childhood.
Like a place he'd visited before. Without realizing it, he turned the wheel and followed it. Behind him, the passenger quietly whispered, "Good." The word barely sounded human. Outside, far beyond the desert, a radio tower's red warning light flashed once, then again, then again. And somewhere inside an abandoned station hidden among forgotten forests, an old transmitter suddenly came alive. Stat crackled softly. A file printer began moving, and a new page slowly emerged. Across the top were typed 5 words. The passenger who was already inside. Below them, another line appeared. Subject status, active. The broadcast had begun, and Ethan Cole had no idea. He was already part of it. The hidden road stretched endlessly into darkness. Ethan drove in silence. The headlights illuminated cracked pavement ahead. Nothing more. No road signs, no mile markers, no buildings. Only darkness. And the passenger sitting behind him, watching, waiting, listening. The dashboard clock read 3:14 a.m., then 3:15, then suddenly 3 a.m. Ethan frowned. He glanced again. The clock now displayed a single time, 3 a.m. Exactly. No minutes, no seconds, just 3. A chill moved through him. The passenger noticed. They do that sometimes. Ethan tightened his grip on the wheel. Who does? The passenger smiled. The roads. The silence returned. Outside, the desert seemed wrong somehow. The landscape never changed. The same rocks, the same hills, the same shadows, repeating endlessly. Like scenery outside a train window. Like a loop. Then the passenger suddenly spoke. "You still think about the bridge?" Ethan nearly swerved. "What?" "The bridge." The passenger looked out the window. "The one from when you were 12. A cold sensation rushed through Ethan's body. His hands tightened. Because he remembered. He remembered perfectly. A summer afternoon, a narrow wooden bridge crossing a river. His younger cousin. The accident. The fall. The thing he saw beneath the water. A memory he had never shared with anyone. Not his parents, not his friends, not even himself. The passenger continued. "You never told anyone what was standing beneath the bridge." Ethan's pulse raced. "Who are you?" The passenger looked at him through the mirror, and for the first time, the smile vanished. "I've been asking myself the same question." The road continued, mile after mile, hour after hour. Except the clock never moved. Still 3 a.m. Always 3 a.m. Eventually a light appeared ahead, a single glowing light. Ethan felt relieved. Civilization, finally. As he approached, the light revealed a building, an old gas station, standing alone in the middle of nowhere. Its neon sign flickered weakly. Desert Star Gas. The station looked abandoned, yet somehow open. A single vehicle sat outside, an old pickup truck covered in dust. The passenger leaned forward. "We should stop." Ethan immediately shook his head. "No." The passenger's expression darkened. "We should." For some reason, that sounded less like a suggestion and more like a warning. A few moments later, Ethan parked beside the pumps.
The engine stopped. Silence filled the desert. No wind, no insects, nothing. Only silence. The gas station lights buzzed softly overhead. The passenger remained seated, not moving, not speaking. Ethan opened the door and stepped outside. The air felt colder than before, much colder. The station itself looked frozen in time. Old fuel pumps, old signs, old advertisements, as though the place belonged to another decade. Then he noticed something strange. A security monitor hanging inside the store. The screen displayed footage from the gas station cameras. One camera showed the parking area, another showed the pumps, another showed the road. Ethan glanced casually toward the monitor, then froze. The footage showed his car arriving minutes earlier. But there was a problem. A very big problem. The rear seat was empty. Completely empty. No passenger. No movement. Nobody. The car arrived with only one person inside. Ethan. His stomach dropped. He replayed the footage. Again. 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 Every angle showed the same thing. No passenger. Nobody sitting in the back seat. Nobody entering the vehicle. Nothing. Yet the man was still outside, waiting in the car. Ethan knew he was. The footage made no sense. A voice suddenly spoke behind him. "Interesting, isn't it?" Ethan spun around. An elderly cashier stood behind the counter, thin, gray-haired, tired eyes. The man looked strangely familiar, very familiar, as though Ethan had seen him before. The cashier smiled. "Most people don't notice." "Notice what?" The old man glanced toward the monitor. "The missing parts." Ethan stared. "What does that mean?" The cashier's smile faded. Then he quietly replied, "Sometimes reality edits itself." The sentence sent a chill through Ethan. Before he could ask another question, the radio behind the counter crackled. Static filled the room. The cashier immediately looked nervous, very nervous. Then the familiar voice returned, the voice from radio station 13. "Good morning, travelers." The old cashier lowered his eyes, almost as though he were afraid. The station continued. "Tonight's passenger is approaching his destination." Ethan felt his pulse quicken. The voice knew. Again, it always knew. The broadcast continued. "Some roads lead somewhere. Others lead someone. Tonight's road leads both." The static intensified, then suddenly stopped. The gas station fell silent again. The cashier whispered something, so quietly Ethan almost missed it. "You're running out of time." Outside, the passenger was standing beside the car, waiting. Ethan never saw him leave the vehicle, yet there he was, motionless beneath the gas station lights, watching. The passenger slowly looked toward the desert, then pointed. Far in the distance, a red light flashed. Once, twice, 3 times. A radio tower. The same tower from the old files. The same tower Daniel Mercer had followed. The same tower connected to radio station 13. The passenger smiled again. "Do you see it?" Ethan nodded. The passenger's voice became softer, almost sad. "That's where it started." Then he added something that made Ethan's blood run cold. "And where it ends."
The road beyond the gas station looked different now. The pavement appeared older, the darkness deeper. The tower's red beacon flashed continuously, calling, guiding, waiting. Ethan looked at the passenger. For a brief second, the man's face seemed familiar. Not just familiar, recognizable. Like someone from an old photograph. Someone he had known his entire life. Then lightning flashed across the desert, and Ethan's heart nearly stopped. Because for a split second, the passenger looked exactly like him. Same eyes, same face, same scar above the eyebrow. The image vanished immediately, but it was enough to send terror through every part of his body. The passenger saw his reaction and smiled sadly. You finally noticed. The wind suddenly howled across the desert. The radio tower's beacon flashed rapidly. The rideshare app updated once again. A new notification appeared. Destination updated. ETA unknown. Location, radio station. Ethan stared at the screen. His hands trembled because he finally understood something. The destination had never been Pine Motel. That was only a stop along the way. The real destination had always been the station. And somehow, the passenger already knew what would happen when they arrived. The tower stood ahead, dark, ancient, waiting. Its red beacon flashed across the desert, again, like a heartbeat. Ethan's car rolled slowly toward the structure. Beside him, or perhaps behind him, sat the passenger, the man who looked exactly like him. The man who knew things nobody should know. The man who seemed connected to every road, every broadcast, and every mystery surrounding Radio Station 13. The dashboard clock still displayed only one time, 3 a.m., forever. The road ended at a rusted gate. Beyond it stood the station, an old building hidden beneath the shadow of the tower. Broken windows, collapsed walls, weathered concrete. Yet lights glowed inside, warm yellow lights, exactly like Pine Motel. Ethan's stomach tightened. He had seen those lights before. Not here, in dreams, for years. Dreams he barely remembered. Dreams that always ended the same way. A radio voice whispering from the darkness. Welcome back. The passenger opened the door. For the first time since entering the car, he stepped outside and waited. Ethan followed. Cold desert wind swept across the station grounds. The tower creaked softly overhead. The red light flashed again. The passenger pointed toward the building. It's time. Ethan stopped. No. The passenger looked at him. You already came this far. I want answers. The man nodded. So did Daniel. A chill ran through Ethan. So did Emma. So did I. The front door stood slightly open, waiting, inviting. Ethan pushed it inward. A long hallway stretched ahead. Dust covered the floor. Old photographs hung on the walls. Radio hosts, technicians, travelers, hundreds of faces. Then Ethan noticed something. Every photograph contained one empty space, one blurred figure. The same figure, standing in the background, watching, listening, waiting. The listener. At the end of the hallway sat the broadcast room. The room looked exactly like the one described in the old files. Microphones, transmitters, control panels, ancient equipment. And at the center, a single
chair, facing a microphone. The passenger entered first, then sat down. The microphone immediately crackled. Static filled the room. The familiar voice returned. Radio Station 13. Good morning, travelers. The station sounded calm, patient, ancient. As always, we thank you for listening. The lights dimmed. The walls vibrated softly. The transmitter began glowing blue, exactly as it had years earlier. The voice continued. For many years, we have collected stories. We have collected listeners. We have collected memories. The room grew colder, much colder. The passenger remained seated, silent, watching the microphone, watching the light, watching Ethan. Then the station said something unexpected, something impossible. Ethan Cole. The room fell silent. The voice continued. You visited this station before. Ethan frowned. No. The answer came immediately. Yes. Images flashed through his mind. A highway, a storm, a radio, a red tower, a motel. Memories. Forgotten memories. Buried memories. Memories that did not belong to him. Or perhaps memories he had chosen to forget. The station continued. You arrived here 17 years ago. Ethan's heart pounded. The voice continued. You left, but part of you stayed. The passenger finally spoke, and for the first time, his voice sounded identical to Ethan's, because it was Ethan's. Older, wiser, broken. The passenger slowly stood and smiled sadly. I told you. I've been asking myself the same question. The realization hit Ethan like ice. The passenger wasn't someone who looked like him. The passenger was him. A future version. A future listener. Someone who had already completed the journey. Someone who had already heard the broadcast. The station crackled. The blue light intensified. The room seemed to disappear around them. Walls dissolved into darkness. The floor vanished. Only the microphone remained, floating inside endless blackness. The voice continued. Every story requires a listener, and every listener eventually becomes a story. The static grew louder. The tower's beacon flashed wildly. The air trembled. And suddenly, Ethan understood. Pine Motel, Radio Station 13, the hidden roads, the missing travelers, the broadcasts. None of them were destinations. They were chapters. Different chapters of the same story. The station delivered its final message, its oldest message, the one hidden behind every file, the one every traveler eventually learned. Some roads are not meant to take you somewhere. They are meant to change who you become. The blue light exploded. The static roared. The darkness swallowed everything. And then, silence. Sunlight touched Ethan's face. Birds chirped. Warm desert air drifted through the open window. He opened his eyes. His car sat beside an Arizona highway. Morning. No tower, no station, no hidden road. Nothing. Only desert and silence. The dashboard clock displayed 8:17 a.m. Normal. Finally normal. Ethan laughed softly. Relief washed over him. Maybe it had all been a dream. Maybe exhaustion had finally caught up with him. Then he looked at the passenger seat and froze. An old cassette tape rested there, freshly labeled, in black ink. Radio Station 13, File, Sepisode 5. The voice that answered before I spoke. Beneath it, another line. Subject status, active. Ethan slowly picked up the tape. Far away, beyond the desert, beyond forgotten highways, beyond Pine Motel, a radio crackled to life, and a familiar voice whispered one final sentence. Thank you for listening. End of file number 4. This has been another entry from the Radio Station 13 files. Good night, travelers. And remember, if a passenger is already sitting in your back seat, make sure they're really a stranger. Episode 5, The Voice That Answered Before I Spoke.